Fenton. Come on up, Sarah.
Good height, yeah? So my name is Sarah Fenton. I'm the student body president for this year. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I come from Colorado, born and raised at 10,000 feet, hashtag no oxygen, no problem. It's almost nerdy how excited I am to be here. I am tremendously humbled to share some of my thoughts with you on behalf of student leadership this year. By the way, if you haven't been able to tell, we have not only a dang good-looking group, but we have an incredibly stacked deck of talented, deeply passionate, intelligent individuals that I am beyond lucky to have the opportunity to learn from this year. In preparation for this, I was given a few suggestions. Mostly, I was encouraged not only to be able to introduce myself to you, but also to tell you how I landed at North and what a North Seattle education means to me. Early on in the process, I realized that to do this, I would have to tell you my whole story, and not the story that I tell people when I want to make them think that I'm cool, or the story that I tell people when I want to impress them, but the story that I don't tell people, because it's one that's riddled with my most difficult failures. I'm not a traditional student. I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was 3. I was diagnosed with a slew of other conditions in the 10 years after that, and some of those took shape as some severe learning difficulties. Because of this, I was a terrible student, just embarrassingly so, in fact. And it really wasn't until high school that I figured the school thing out. I was in my junior year when I started passing my classes, and I was in my senior year when I got my first A. When I left high school, I felt confident about starting college. And I did well for quite a while, until I didn't. By my second semester, I was not only failing all of my classes, but I found myself sitting across the table from a team of doctors that told me, Sarah, if you don't figure out your health conditions, you will die. And as an 18-year-old kid, that was jarring. I had no tools to unpack that. And so I didn't. I kept doing what I was doing, trying and failing, trying and failing, trying and failing again. And after about 2 years, I came to the conclusion that I could either pursue an education, or I could go to school. Or I could pursue an education, or I could be healthy, but I couldn't do both at the same time. So I decided college wasn't for me. I swallowed that pill, walked away, and it wasn't until about a year later that I was sitting in an auditorium in South Florida listening to my sister give the valedictorian speech at her law school graduation that I realized I was wrong. I realized that my education was worth fighting for. It was worth fighting to figure out how to do those both of those things. And it'd be really easy to tell you that this was my pivot point, that I figured it all out at this point, but I didn't. It took another 3.5 years of hard work, of stumbling and of falling, and of getting back up again before I was ready to re-enroll. And in that time, I changed my direction, decided that I wanted to study neurobiology at the University of Washington, and landed here at North, which I am incredibly lucky that I did. I wish I had the time to tell you about even a few of the amazing experiences I've had at North. What I will say is that each experience has done wonders in restoring my confidence and stoking my passion. The culmination of this has made me infinitely glad I waited to go back to school. And I think that has as much to do with North and how special North is as it does to do with me. I moved to Seattle in 2017 hoping for a fresh start, and I found that here. I found it in the Disability Services Office, where I was issued accommodations that were not only perfectly tailored to me, but have made all the difference in my success at every turn. I found it in the Arts and Sciences building where I took most of my classes last year. I found it in the undergraduate research program I was lucky enough to participate in. I found it in the Arts and Sciences lab where I worked with and learned from our amazingly cool lab staff. I've seen it in the actions of dedicated staff who work so diligently to provide clean and safe and functional spaces for students to learn in. I've been infinitely inspired by my instructors. Special shout out to the amazing women I've had the pleasure of working with in the science department who I know on a daily help inspire the next generation of women in STEM. North is a special place. A few weeks ago, student leadership had the opportunity to spend a significant amount of time developing a framework for the work we'll be doing in the next year. This included, it had everything to do with equity, diversity, and inclusion. Many of the conversations we had revolved around the idea of challenging power structures that are so often stabilized at the expense and massive detriment of minority communities. We spent quite a lot of time thinking about these. We wanted to know how to jumpstart change. We wanted to know how to engage in the cultural and social revolutions of self and community that are already occurring. We wanted to know how to create spaces where we stop apologizing simply for who we are, and we learn to stop asking others to apologize for who they are. One more thing. We wanted to know how we could better strengthen our campus by leveraging our diversity, increasing our efforts of inclusion, and promoting and planning for a truly equitable campus. The answer to these questions deserve no less than a 5-hour TED Talk, given by somebody who's much smarter than I. What I do know is that I have become acutely aware of how engaged North is in continually working toward creating spaces where opportunities for learning and growth are available to everyone, and that starts with all of you. I know this because I've seen it. I want to tell you that the work you do matters. I want you to know that the work you do does not go unnoticed. As North Seattle students ourselves, we collectively want to encourage you to embrace the moments when you get to become a little more like yourself and embrace the moments when you get to inspire the same in others. This is going to sound like I Googled community-themed platitudes for speeches 2019, but community starts with kindness. I want you to remember this year that there will be students who come into your spaces, students that walk into your classrooms that are in the same or a similar place I was in 8 years ago. You're going to have students who question every single day if they deserve to be here. Students who question every single day if they have what it takes. You'll have students who have huge dreams, but equally huge responsibilities. You'll have students who have been told their whole lives that they wouldn't be able to do it, couldn't figure it out, and shouldn't even try. A little bit of kindness and encouragement from you goes an incredibly long way in keeping those students in your classrooms and in your spaces. I know this because it worked for me. As your students, we have great expectations for you. We have great expectations for this year, and we're beyond excited not only to work alongside you, but to learn from you. Thank you.